We're working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's top stories. In an exclusive interview with AFP, Philippine Foreign Minister Enrique Manalo reaffirmed his country's commitment to peaceful resolution of maritime disputes with China and his message to Beijing, stop harassing us. In Melbourne today, leaders from Southeast Asian nations and Australia gather. Will they condemn the use of force, particularly targeting China, to settle disputes? A draft joint statement obtained by AFP suggests they aim for dialogue over force to uphold sovereignty and territorial integrity. Relatives of passengers from Malaysian Airlines flight MH370, which vanished 10 years ago, plead for a new search. The Boeing 777 disappeared on March 8, 2014, en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. The human rights crisis in Myanmar worsens as armed conflict escalates. UN High Commissioner Volker Turk calls for the situation to be referred to the International Criminal Court, describing it as a never-ending nightmare, largely unnoticed by the global community. During his first official visit to Australia this week, President of the Republic of the Philippines, Marcos Jr., and Prime Minister Albanese reaffirmed the already robust relationship between their countries with a strong message.
Australia is honoured to count the Philippines as a close friend and strategic partner. For more than 3/4 of a century, our nations have been bound by strategic trust and mutual cooperation. Our ties are strengthened by warm and close personal connections, including through the over 400,000 Australians with Filipino heritage who make a wonderful contribution to modern multicultural Australia.
Albanese noted the Philippines is one of the fastest growing economies in the Indo-Pacific region.
The Philippines is one of our fastest growing economies in our region, and there's great potential to deepen our two-way trade and investment links. To give just one example, this week, the Philippines-based company, International Container Terminal Services, will open a new $235 million expansion to its facilities at the Port of Melbourne. This will bring these investments in Melbourne to $1 billion, a welcome example of the opportunity available to grow our economic ties.
In his address to a joint sitting of the Australian Parliament, President Marcos emphasized the close cooperation between Australia and the Philippines under the upgraded strategic partnership signed by leaders last year.
I had earlier the distinction of delivering my address to the Australian Parliament, an honor befitting a partnership between two equal sovereign states and a vital opportunity for the Philippines to express our vision for this cordial and warm friendship. And as mentioned in my speech, and as discussed with the Prime Minister, both Philippines and Australia emphasized the importance of observing and promoting the rules-based order governed by international law and informed by the principles of equity and of justice. Stability in the Indo-Pacific region is of utmost priority for both our countries. The Philippines recognizes Australia's indisputable role as a regional stabilizer.
Now, the two leaders took decisive action by announcing new memoranda of understanding to implement key priorities of their strategic partnership.
We are ambitious for what we can achieve together, and I'm pleased that we are working actively to build a peaceful region where international law is respected and waterways are open for trade. I'm pleased that with our new MOU on enhanced maritime cooperation, which we've signed today, we'll collaborate even more closely to promote our shared vision for the region, including in civil maritime security, marine environment protection, maritime domain awareness and promoting respect for international law.
As we are situated in such a dynamic regional security environment, I would like to assure our Australian friends that the Philippines will continue to partner with Australia in promoting predictability of actions in the international arena. The Philippines is fully ready to continue upholding its commitments as your strategic partner and as one of your oldest friends in the region.
In an exclusive interview with AFP, Philippine Foreign Minister Enrique Manalo reiterated his country's commitment to resolving maritime disputes with China through peaceful means. But what's the clear message for Beijing? Well, Mr. Manalo had a simple yet firm one: stop harassing us. Speaking at the ASEAN-Australia Summit in Melbourne, Manalo defended his government's policy of publicizing Chinese activities in contested maritime territories. But why is transparency so crucial for them? Well, he also emphasized that it's integral to their democracy and aimed at keeping the public informed. So what exactly did Manalo say about highlighting incidents in the South China Sea? Let's hear it directly from him.
For example, highlighting or putting in the media incidents in the South China Sea is precisely part of our democracy, and it's merely trying to inform the people of what's going on. And some countries, or one country at least, has had some difficulty with that, but our simple explanation is if you would stop harassing us and perhaps performing other actions, there wouldn't be any news to report.
Scarborough Shoal, a contentious area seized by China from the Philippines in 2012, remains a flashpoint. But what's the Philippines' stance on this issue? Manalo stressed their commitment to a peaceful resolution of disputes without compromising national interests. Now, shifting gears to economic ties, Manalo expressed hope for free trade negotiations with the EU to commence soon.
So it's important to reach out to your various partners and to see how you can enhance ties, economic ties, for example. We're hoping, for example, to very soon begin free trade negotiations with the EU. We're hopeful that that can begin soon.
Economic resilience is deemed crucial for ensuring security and sovereignty. So what's their strategy in achieving this? The Philippines aims to enhance economic partnerships to bolster national security.
But we're also focusing now quite a lot on enhancing our economic partnerships with the end in view of creating greater economic security and economic resiliency, which in turn contributes to your own national security.
Manalo highlighted ASEAN's commitment to negotiating a substantive code of conduct with China. But why is this important? He emphasized the importance of preventing escalation in the South China Sea.
First, we're all committed in ASEAN with China to negotiating and hopefully concluding an effective and substantive code of conduct covering ASEAN and China. Our aim is, in the event of any escalation, it's important that we seek to find ways to let's say, prevent such escalation by rising tensions in the area. But certainly, while the Philippines is committed to a peaceful resolution of disputes through diplomatic means or peaceful means, this will not be done at the expense of our national interest.
Amidst uncertainties regarding the upcoming U.S. election and its potential implications on bilateral relations, what is the Philippines' stance? Mr. Manalo acknowledged the importance of their security partnership with the U.S., but refrained from speculating on the election outcome.
Well, you know, it's pretty hard to speculate. I think every country in the world is probably thinking of that. Of course, the United States is it's a treaty ally of the Philippines, so obviously we are any difference or changes in U.S. policy from existing policies would most likely have some kind of effect. But at this stage, it's fairly difficult to assess how it would happen or what would happen. But all I can say is we are, of course, carefully monitoring the election season in the United States.
Today in Melbourne, leaders from Southeast Asian nations and Australia are convening. Will they speak out against the use of force to settle disputes, particularly targeting China? Now, according to a draft joint statement obtained by AFP, are they striving for a region where sovereignty and territorial integrity are upheld and where differences are resolved through dialogue rather than force?
So we all have a responsibility to shape the region we want to share, peaceful, stable and prosperous, a region in balance, where each country can pursue its own aspirations, where no country dominates and no country is dominated.
During the three-day discussions, will they delve into Beijing's assertive actions in the South China Sea? Amid escalating tensions in this crucial trade route, with China asserting its claims in areas also contested by ASEAN members like the Philippines and Vietnam, what specific measures will be discussed to address these challenges? Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong, who's hosting the event, emphasized the shared responsibility to foster a region characterized by peace, stability and prosperity.
We face destabilising, provocative and coercive actions, including unsafe conduct at sea and in the air, and militarisation of disputed features. We know that military power is expanding, but measures to constrain military conflict are not, and there are few concrete mechanisms for averting it.
Now, how will they address destabilizing actions such as unsafe conduct at sea and militarization of disputed areas to preserve regional stability?
So Australia is working with ASEAN to increase resilience to coercion and to ensure waterways that serve us all remain open and accessible. Which is why I am pleased to announce that we will commit a further $64 million over the next 4 years, including $40 million in new funding, to enhance Australia's Southeast Asia maritime partnerships.
However, such future will only be possible if nations in the region resolve to uphold cooperation over confrontation and diplomacy over the use or the threat of use of force. For the South China Sea and the seas and oceans of the Indo-Pacific to be unifying domains of peace, stability, and prosperity, we need to gather more strongly around the collective responsibility as well as a shared sense of stewardship.
In other news tonight, relatives of passengers on a Malaysian Airlines plane that vanished 10 years ago urged for a new search as they spoke of their ongoing grief and the challenge of finding closure.
The only way to solve this mystery is to find the plane. That's why it's important to search on. Don't let it remain a mystery. Then only we can put the puzzle pieces together and find out what happened. It can happen again.
On March 8, 2014, flight MH370, a Boeing 777 aircraft carrying 239 passengers, disappeared from radar screens while en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Despite the most extensive search in aviation history, the plane has never been found. In 2018, Ocean Infinity search for the missing plane spanned several months and covered a large portion of the seabed, but ultimately proved unsuccessful. The previous Australian-led search in the Indian Ocean, which covered an area of 120,000 square kilometers, also yielded very little evidence, with only a few pieces of debris being recovered. The search operation, which was the largest in aviation history, was suspended in January 2017.
The Ministry of Transport are ready to invite Ocean Infinity to Malaysia to discuss the proposal of a no fine, no fee. We are waiting for Ocean Infinity to provide a suitable dates, and I will meet them anytime that they are ready to come to Malaysia.
The disappearance of the plane has been the subject of various theories, ranging from plausible to bizarre, including the possibility that the pilot, Zahari Ahmad Shah, had intentionally deviated from his planned course.
If there are compelling case, evidence that need to be reopened, we will certainly be happy to reopen, because I don't think it's an issue of a tactical or technical issue. It is an issue of affecting lives of people, and whatever need to be done must be done.
The final report on the tragedy, released in 2018, pointed to errors by air traffic control and suggested that the plane's course was manually altered. In coastal Thailand's Sattahip district, multinational military forces are engaged in amphibious exercises as part of the renowned Cobra Gold military drills. Rear Admiral Stone, the commander of Expeditionary Strike Group, highlights the significance of joint operations in this massive exercise.
Participants, but in total we have 30 countries that came here to Cobra Gold. This is the largest defense exercise in Asia. It is the longest standing defense exercise in the entire world. Seeing the teamwork of the Thai Armed Forces, the United States Armed Forces, our great friends, the Koreans, simultaneously conducting an amphibious assault, truly, truly remarkable and impressive.
With participation from 30 countries, including Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Japan, Cobra Gold stands as the largest defense exercise in Asia, emphasizing the global importance of this event.
The most important thing for these exercises is building the relationships, so that we do that here in training, and if we face a real-world event together, we know the people and we're ready to respond.
The Cobra Gold exercise, running from February 26 to March 8, not only focuses on military maneuvers, but also includes cyber defense drills and humanitarian support training with participation from China and India. Since its inception in 1982, Cobra Gold has played a crucial role in preparing multinational forces for regional stability efforts, with South Korea becoming a full participant in 2010. In other news beyond the region, in a stern and uncompromising address to the nation, Russian President Vladimir Putin issued a stark warning, highlighting the peril of nuclear war if tensions in Ukraine escalate further. Speaking from Moscow, Putin asserted that Russian forces were making progress in Ukraine, cautioning the West against any attempts to intervene militarily in Kiev.
И что все они придумывают сейчас, чем пугают весь мир, что все это реально грозит конфликтом с использованием ядерного оружия, а значит уничтожением цивилизации.
Mr. Putin underscored Russia's capabilities, reminding the West of its military prowess and the potential consequences of provocation.
Тоже есть оружие, да знают об этом, сейчас только я сказал, тоже есть оружие, которое может поражать цели на их территории. Боевые возможности вооруженных сил увеличились многократно. Наши части прочно владеют инициативой. По целому ряду оперативных направлений уверенно наступают, освобождают все новые территории.
Putin's remarks appear to be prompted by French President Emmanuel Macron's recent statements, hinting at the deployment of troops to Ukraine.
Il n'y a pas de consensus aujourd'hui pour envoyer de manière officielle, assumée et endossée des troupes au sol, mais en dynamique, rien ne doit être exclu. Nous ferons tout ce qu'il faut pour que la Russie ne puisse pas gagner cette guerre.
A stance that drew swift disapproval from other European leaders.
Die NATO ist und wird keine Kriegspartei. Dabei bleibt es. Wir wollen nicht, dass der Krieg Russlands gegen die Ukraine zu einem Krieg zwischen Russland und der NATO wird. Darüber sind wir uns mit allen unseren Verbündeten einig. Das bedeutet auch keine deutsche Kriegsbeteiligung. Um es klipp und klar zu sagen, als deutscher Bundeskanzler werde ich keine Soldaten unserer Bundeswehr in die Ukraine entsenden. Das gilt, darauf können sich unsere Soldatinnen und Soldaten verlassen. Und darauf können Sie sich verlassen.
The ongoing debate has stirred tensions in Moscow, with Russia viewing its conflict with Ukraine as part of a broader hybrid war orchestrated by NATO.
Заговорили о возможности отправки на Украину натовских военных контингентов. Но мы помним судьбу тех, кто направлял когда-то свои контингенты на территорию нашей страны. Но теперь последствия для возможных интервентов будут гораздо более трагичными.
In response to Putin's warnings, the U.S. condemned the rhetoric, labeling it irresponsible, while reassuring that there was no immediate indication of heightened risk.
So it is not the first time we have seen irresponsible rhetoric from Vladimir Putin. It is no way for the leader of a nuclear-armed state to speak. We have communicated in the past privately and directly with Russia about the consequences of the use of a nuclear weapon. That said, we do not have any sign that Russia is preparing to use a nuclear weapon, and we will continue to monitor this carefully.
As tensions continue to simmer, the specter of nuclear conflict looms large, underscoring the urgent need for diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris meets today with Benny Gantz, a member of Israel's war cabinet. As the U.S. continues to push Israel for a ceasefire agreement, chaos and starvation are rampant in Gaza. Thomas I. Likeness reports.
World leaders sit in the comfort of offices and meeting rooms talking about how to end the fighting. U.S. President Joe Biden says efforts continue to get both sides to put down their arms.
We're trying to work out a deal between Israel and Hamas, the hostages being returned, and an immediate ceasefire in Gaza for at least the next 6 weeks.
There must be an immediate ceasefire.
The Council on the Occupied Palestinian Territory. The war in Gaza has already generated dangerous spillover in neighboring countries, and I'm deeply concerned that in this powder keg, any spark could lead to a much broader conflagration.
And while this talk goes on, out on the front lines, there's no let-up in the devastation for the people of Gaza. Buildings continue to collapse from the ongoing shelling. The sound of desperate family members calling out their children's names as they search through the rubble, hoping to find their youngsters alive, echoes throughout these destroyed neighborhoods. Many times the results are tragic. Rania Abu Anza mourns over her 6-month-old twins pulled from the rubble, but they did not survive. As she holds their bodies, she cries, "Who will call me mother from now on?" Death comes to others not from the bombing, but from starvation. UN humanitarian spokesman Ramesh Rajasingham says hundreds of thousands of people are close to starving to death.
At least 576,000 people in Gaza, 1/4 of the population, one step away from famine, with 1 in 6 children under 2 years of age in northern Gaza suffering from acute malnutrition.
And even if people can get food, Maurizio Martina of the UN Food and Agriculture Organization says there's no safe way for people to quench their thirst.
Around 97% of the groundwater is reportedly unfit for human consumption.
On the weekend, American military planes dropped 66 pallets containing 38,000 ready-to-eat meals and water, a proverbial drop in the bucket. Hardly enough to satiate the hunger in Gaza, which has seen 1.9 million of its people displaced. As the ceasefire talks drag on, these plaintive cries will continue to reverberate throughout Gaza until both sides say enough and lay down their arms. Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
In the western United States, a powerful blizzard is wreaking havoc across parts of California and Nevada. These intense storms have forced the closure of major roads and ski resorts in both states, 2,000 customers without electricity. The storm's impact is most severe in mountainous areas, with forecasts predicting up to 3 meters or 10 feet of snow at higher elevations, posing life-threatening risks for communities near Lake Tahoe. Yosemite National Park took preemptive measures, closing its gates on Friday and urging visitors to evacuate by noon. Meanwhile, in Texas, firefighters are battling massive wildfires amid challenging weather conditions, adding to the extreme weather woes experienced in various parts of the United States. As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast of ASEAN in Focus. Thank you for joining us. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.